Hi, my kindergarten friends. Welcome to your online art class. Today we are going to be working on a project that has to do with a fish in a fishbowl. So you're going to need the fishbowl piece of paper that was sent home with you, crayons, a pencil, and if you have watercolor, great, we're going to use watercolor. So let's get started. Let me position my phone back where it was. Give me a second. All right, hopefully you guys can see okay. I've been trying to figure this out all day. So this is your fishbowl, and we're going to start by tracing our hand. So you're going to have your hand to the side, and you're going to carefully, you might need your mom and dad's help for this, or a brother or sister if they're at home. You're going to carefully trace your hand. And then once you get to the wrist part, we're just going to circle that around like that. Next, we're going to put an eyeball in here. So with a fish have eyes on one eye on each side of their body. So we're not adding two eyes, we're only adding the one eye. That's the only one that you'll see. If you want to give your fish a happy smile, because it's a happy fish, then you can add that happy smile. What else do you see on fish? I know a lot of them come in a lot of different colors. Some of them have stripes. Some of them, they're just all a little different. So how are you going to make your fish different? You can start by adding some scales if you want to. And a scale is just a really wide letter C. Do you see the letter C's here? Maybe I can show you a little closer. Do you see that these look like letter C's? So you're going to add maybe some of these. If you want to add some stripes, like I said, you can add some stripes, kind of like a clownfish if you want to go more of a clownfish route. These are your fingertips are your fins. So with your fins, we're going to do some lines going up your finger. Just like this. And the last one, use your thumb. And that'll be your side fin. Great. So now that we have our fish in our fishbowl, and I'm sure that your fish is going to be a lot smaller than mine because I have much bigger hands than you, we're going to add things that you might see in a fishbowl. So one of the main things that you would see in a fishbowl, I would hope anyway, is water. So we're going to add a wavy water line across the top, right where the corner and the corner come to a point. I have also seen pebbles, so if you want to add pebbles, they're just little circles at the bottom of your fishbowl. You don't have to stack them, they can be placed however you want them. So we're going to go all the way across. A lot of circles, sorry. Okay. What else do you see? Maybe you have some seagrass, some seaweed. So those are probably going to be more tall. So it's just a wiggly line up, make a point, and come back down. They don't have to be perfect. You know, in art, I don't care if it's perfect or not, as long as you're trying. You can add as many or as few as you want. You don't have to add any at all if that's not what you want to add in. These are just some options. You might have other ideas. I've also seen like castles, like little mini castles. So if you want to do a castle, we just think about shapes, right? So the top part of a castle, if you think about a chess piece, if you've ever seen a chess piece, is the rook. And it kind of looks like this. So this is a square with a square with a square. So lots of squares on top of a rectangle, really. And then we're going to draw a straight line down And you might see more of your castle than what I'm showing. And I can draw a castle for you on the other side just in case you want to see what that would look like if you were to see the whole thing. And then all the way down. And then behind here might be a door. So I'll add those lines going down. And then maybe I'm going to add some brick lines because castles were made out of rock and brick. So just instead of doing a whole humongous grid like you would see with brick walls, I just kind of make upside down and right side up T's. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So if you were going to do a full castle, this is the way I would do it. And if you don't want to do the full castle, if you don't see a full castle, if you don't want to do a castle at all, you can skip through this little part right here. Up, down, up, down. All right, and then this is the door that I was talking about that my big fish was in the way of that you couldn't see. Maybe you have some windows. You can have a flag on top if you want to. Flags are just triangles, nice and easy peasy. And these are the T's that I was talking about. So right side up, capital T, upside down, capital T, right side up, capital T, upside down, capital T. And with doing this, it gives the suggestion that this is made out of stone or brick, rather than going like this all the way across, all the way up, and then splitting those up. If you'd like to do it like that, you absolutely can. There is no right or wrong way how to make your castle. You make it your own. So back to the front. Maybe you want to add some bubbles because our fish loves bubbles and it breathes the air, so the air leaves the mouth and bubbles up to the top to release the gases of the carbon dioxide that he's breathing out or she's breathing out, whatever your fish is. All right, so now we've finished drawing and we're going to take our crayons and we're going to start tracing those lines. So we're working on our fine motor skills with the tracing. You can choose as many colors as you want to, but we want to stay really carefully on those lines. And you're going to press down hard enough, because what we're going to do if you have watercolor is to do a watercolor resist. If you don't have watercolor, not a big deal. We can just use markers to color it in or crayon. And if you do have markers, I can actually show you a really cool alternative instead of using watercolor, how you can use marker as watercolor, because markers are actually water-based paint within the markers. So I'm going to trace my hand, which is my fish. However you want to, whatever color. They don't have to all be the same color. Maybe I'll switch it up. I'll do the black outline. I don't have gray, so I guess maybe I'll go blue with my castle. I know I didn't finish my fish yet. I'm just bouncing around. So while I'm doing this part, if you've already finished drawing, you can absolutely go ahead while I'm doing this. You don't have to watch me. But I do want to show you the start to finish of the whole project. So that's why I'm having this whole thing videoed at the moment. So like I said, if you want to go ahead and start tracing while I'm getting mine all traced, go for it. I hope you guys are all doing something fun while you're gone. We already all miss you. We've been talking about that, how we're really bummed out that we're not going to be able to see you guys for a couple of weeks. So hopefully you guys are all taking care of yourselves and finding some way to have fun, going outside, getting some fresh air. You might not be able to go to a trampoline park, but you can still go outside and have fun. You don't even have to do normal colors for these. If you want to make a purple castle or a pink castle or green bubbles, whatever you really want to do, this is totally your project. I just give you the direction of where I want you to go with this, and then you guys kind of take it in your own direction and make it your own. So as long as all of my goals are met, the goals that I give you, I mean. Oh, I almost forgot my water line. All right, now all of my pebbles. Your pebbles can all be different colors too. You take this however you want. So this part of the project, the crayon part and the drawing part, this is really one class. So if you are, once you finish this part, if you would like to stop and then pick this up the next week as if we were doing this in school. So like say you had art on a Monday and we worked and we did this part just on Monday, and then the next week when we come back, that's when you would do the next part of the project. If you want to do it that way, that's great. If you want to get it all done at once because you're having a great time, that's awesome too. So now for this next part, you're going to need a water cup, a brush. If you have watercolor paints, great. If you don't have watercolor paints and you want to use markers, you can use markers. Or if you'd rather just use markers anyway, that's totally up to you. So I'm going to show you first real quick just how to do the marker part of it. So we're going to stick with like colors. So if you did green for the seaweed, you're going to paint it green or color it green using the markers with the water and the water brush. If you did an orange fish, you're going to do the orange fish. If you did more than one color for something, you can choose what color to do. But we're just going to practice careful painting. So for the markers, what you do to start with is you kind of do like an outline of where you want that color to be. Like that. Maybe I want to go around here. And maybe I want my fins to be a different color, but I'm just, for the sake of doing this, I'm just gonna do it all the same color. And it's okay if you go over it with crayon. The marker really shouldn't affect the crayon, or the crayon vice versa. I don't think that the materials would mesh together. All right, so I've done that part with marker. So now I'm going to dip my brush and I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull the color in. You can't see it too well, but it still works. Oh, there we go. I just needed a little bit more water. So do you see how I'm taking some of the color of that from that marker? I start in the line and then I pull out towards the middle. I don't know if you can see super well, but it's coming out a little bit. You can also go back and add just a little bit more while it's a little wet, and then spread it out from there. And it works better if you do it quickly and not let it dry. So if you're gonna end up doing it this way, make sure that you're doing it one small part at a time, so the marker that you've put on there doesn't dry out too much. So you see how that kind of looks like that now? So then I'm just, because I did my fish this way, I'm just going to finish off the fish using my watercolor. Using my markers. And as always, if you're using another color, you have to be careful not to have it blend together. So being in control of how much water is actually on your brush. Maybe you wipe your brush off a little bit before you go into a smaller area like that. So like for example, the eye, if I were to do the eye, I'm not going to take a lot of water on my brush. I'm just going to wipe it off, use a very, very tip, not press down very hard, and then I'm done with that. All right, so if that's the way that you want to go, awesome, go for it. I'm going to now just show you how to do watercolor, and then you can paint along with me until I'm done the project, and we can go from there. So with the watercolor, remember you are rinsing your brush. I mean, these are your watercolors more than likely, so just be aware of color blending inside of the palette. I like that. I prefer when I teach you to do this, that you do the blending on the paper itself, rather than get this all muddy and messy. So I don't know why I went to yellow. Go to green maybe. So maybe I'm going to start with green. So you're going to hold your brush nice and close to the tip, right on the silver part, trying to paint, especially in these small areas, in one direction. The cool thing, and one of the reasons why I wanted you to do the crayon, is because this is called a watercolor resist. So the word resist means to kind of shy away from, or to get away from. So you're resisting the urge to eat that third cookie because mom and dad said that you could only have two. So that's what that means. So what the wax in the crayon is doing is it's resisting or holding in or pushing away, depending on where you're painting that watercolor. So if I were to go over, so I'll show you with the pebbles on the bottom. You can either, if you'd like to, do one at a time like this, or if you're going to do them all the same color, paint them in like this. Now if you look at the lines, I'm going to pick this up and get you closer. If you look at the lines now, do you still see all of those nice round lines that you traced with the crayon? They're still there. If you were to do that with marker, like trace with marker and then paint over it with watercolor, those lines would go away because that's also water-based. But the wax helps to push away and to not accept the paint where the crayon has already been. Kind of cool. All right, so maybe I'm gonna go in with my blue. I want to get it lighter. So remember, if you want lighter color, so if you don't want this to be a super, super dark color, for say that you're also doing blue for your castle, and you absolutely don't have to, you use more water to make it lighter and less water to make it darker. So I just added a lot of water to my palette so that it's much, much lighter, and I can show you what it looks like as I use up some of that water to make it darker, because there's less water in there. So I can't wait to see what yours look like. You can send me a message through my Gmail account to show me. Just take a picture if you'd like to. You can share it with your teacher, but it's easier for you to share your artwork with me than have to go through your teacher and then have her or him share with me through another transaction of emails. So my email can be found on my website, on the school website, or you can it's ELACOURSE at Kearsarge, that's KEARSARGE.org. I'd love to see these as you get them finished. All right, so if I were to do darker, I'm going to get some of this water out. So if I were to do darker, there's less water in here now. But do you see how now, because there's less water, these bubbles that I'm painting in here are a lot darker? Pretty neat. Oops, I forgot this top part. And just like coloring, you're trying your best to stay in the lines. Now, I'm painting on the quicker side, but I've also been painting for a lot more years than you. So take your time, go slow, try to stay in the lines as much as possible. If you go out of the lines, that's fine. We all make mistakes. It's not that big of a deal. But if we want our artwork to look nice and neat, then we need to take our time and go slow. If I were to take my time and go really slow, this would be much longer than a 20-minute video, which is just about to go over 20 minutes. So here's where we're at. If you would like to paint the background, you can paint the background. If you'd rather leave it white, that's totally up to you. Just because I want to show you the end of this and not have to wait for my project to dry, I'm going to leave my back, and I also don't have a different color blue. I'm going to leave my background clear because I guess you would see through the fishbowl, so we'll make it stay clear. So once your project is dry, you are going to cut your fishbowl out along the black lines. Make sure it's dry though. It's a lot easier to cut when it's dry. Mine's all floppy. And if you don't have scissors, it's not a big deal. You don't have to cut it out, but I think it looks much nicer like this. So that is our lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe send me a picture of your finished product so I can enjoy it along with you, and just, it makes me happy to see you guys and doing your artwork. So anyway, so yeah, this is a 2-day project. It could be 3 days if you want to spread it out a little bit more. If you do get done and you have another week left over, where you have nothing to work on, be creative, paint, do something that you haven't done before. Watch a YouTube video of how to draw something, like how to draw a kitty in a teacup, or I don't know, whatever your fancy is. So that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed your project. I'll see you guys when we get back. Bye.